The Art of Relationships radio show is copyrighted. No one is to use any part of the show without express written consent from myself, Greg Dzinski, or the Art of Relationships.
Welcome to the Art of Relationships radio show. Greg has been a relationships expert guest host on numerous radio shows. He promises that this show is for you and to help listeners become more fulfilled, healthier, and happier in your relationships and lives. Licensed relationship and sex counselor Greg Dzinski. The Art of Relationships radio show will cover crucial elements in rebuilding emotional and physical intimacy, plus help in reigniting the passion in your romantic relationships. He also welcomes live calls from listeners in helping with these very challenges. No more tit-for-tat arguments. Greg gets to the root of couples' challenges in a rapid, matter-of-fact format, plus applies compassion and humor. Join in discovering how to improve your romantic relationship and your own life. Listen, laugh, and grow happier. Greg is a licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan. To others, he's simply known as Master G.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Art of Relationships radio show, and I am your host, licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan, Greg Dzinski, a.k.a. Master G, and that's a long story. I want to welcome everybody to Sunday night, and it was here in Metro Detroit. It was just a gorgeous sunset for you huge romantics, and there's another blood moon out here. So that might be a scary mix. Beautiful sunset, blood moon, what does that mean? Does it kick everybody horny up and get everybody in the mood? We'll see. You can give me a call live this evening with any of your relationship or sex-related issue or challenge questions you might have. You can give me a call at 313-614-9498. Again, 313-614-9498. You can give me a call live, and you can also join me on the live chat. If you're listening to the Art of Relationships radio show's own app for Apple and Android devices, or you might have to, in the Play Store, Google my name, Greg Dzinski, Dudzinski. Make sure you check out my website. Counseling website is www.theartofrelationships. You check out the services I provide. Not only I specialize mostly in relationships, sexual dynamics, but I also specialize in grief and loss challenges, along with trauma and PTSD aspects as well, sadly. But I want to welcome everybody again to the show, and hopefully everybody's weekend is winding down to something very, very pleasurable and relaxing. And I know I'm going up against Sunday Night Football in the Metro Detroit area as the Lions are playing Denver Broncos. So I am hoping everybody's listening and they can watch the game and listen to the show. And like I promoted on Facebook, you learn a lot more stuff. Listen to the show, and you can watch a game at the same time and swear at the TV. Hopefully lines don't get blown out. It is 9:05. This is the Art of Relationships radio show. And I'm going to do a plug. Make sure I want to appreciate everybody that is supporting my new book, Seize That Total Connection, Achieving the Emotional and Sexual Relationship You Crave. It's available as an ebook and paperback version on Amazon. So everybody, it's on Amazon.com. That is Seize That Total Connection. And the other, the ending of the title is Achieving the Emotional and Sexual Relationship You Crave. So everybody check that out. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. And everybody, if you're interested in counseling services or practices, I do offer e-counseling via Skype or even telephone sessions as well. And then also you can see me in person down in downtown Detroit. So you can also give me a call. Information's on the website. And it's the same number you can call me live on. It's 313-614-9498. Give me a call. I want to hear what your complaints are. I want to hear, what challenges you guys are going through in your relationship or even, in your life. It could be work issues, maybe family dynamic issues going on, and see what else is happening, okay? Tonight, we are going to be talking about, why women cheat. That's going to be one aspect, okay? We're going to look at why do women cheat, and we're going to also cover, towards the end of the show, we're going to cover about how many people want to find their everything. That one person that is their epitome of love, of relationship. They want a person to be their everything, okay? Now, is that possible? Now, not only maybe that is possible, it's not possible, but is it a smart, wise, and healthy thing that you are trying to find everything in one person? And does that put a lot of pressure on the relationship and the dynamics going on? So, join me on the live chat if you're going on Spreaker.com website, and you can do a search for the Art of Relationships radio show. You can join me on the live chat as well on the Show's own app, or it might be under my name, Greg Dazinski, as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you and your questions. And we are going to start off, why do women cheat? And like I said, there's a lot of surveys out there, a lot of research that says 22% of men cheat in relationships or in their marriage, and only 14% of women cheat. And I think the research, to be honest with you, I think it's a little biased, and I think it is, I don't think people are being honest when they're answering the surveys and, questionnaires and everything too. In my experience, I find, in the clients I work with, I can't speak for everybody in the world, everybody in America, whatever. But in my practice over, long time, lot of years in practice, that just as many women are having affairs as men. And not that I condone them, as everybody knows, but I want to get at, why do you think women cheat? Is it bad sex? Not enough sex? Is it emotional connection? Is it out of boredom? Is it that they're not, when I said bad sex, maybe they're not getting off, they're not getting an orgasm like they want to or like they deserve. So I'm all about, pleasing women and everything. We're going to look at, what are reasons why women cheat? And we'll get at, we'll follow this up with the men. Why do men cheat? Because they're dogs, right? No, not at all. And I want to, like I said, I don't have the official, scientific research method stats on me, but, they're coming up. There's different surveys I just read last couple days that, they're saying 22% of men in marriages have cheated and 14% of women. And I find that, to be honest with you, I think that's low, sadly. But I also think just as many women have affairs as men, even though the stats, what they're saying is an 8% differential with women, having 8% less than women or men. I'm sorry. But I look at the situation. I don't think those are legit. I think women are just maybe smoother, sneakier, smarter, and I don't think they're answering their surveys as well. So I'd love to hear your comments. Again, give me a call, 313-614-9498. And you can join me in the live chat as well on the show, Art of Relationship Radio Show's own app on Android and Apple devices, or you can join me on the live chat as well through Spreaker. That's SPEAKER.com, and do a search for the Art of Relationships, and you should be able to find it. Sign in through your Facebook account is very easy. And join me on live chat. And welcome on live chat. We have Princess Fu back. She is a faithful listener and follower, and I appreciate it. Women are just smarter. I agree, Fu. that, a lot of stats, they're saying, with women cheating, 14% to 22%. I think those are distorted. I don't think they're accurate. And there's two different sources. Well, there's two different sources I saw in the last couple of days. They're coming up with the same figures. And I think they're bowing them from the same source. And I don't think that is accurate at all. I do agree, Fu, that women tend to be smarter. They tend to be sneakier, and maybe they don't get caught. But as you know, in my practice, and I've said this, got over the years, it's just as many women have affairs that I work with in my office. They have affairs or have cheated just as many women, if not more, than the guys. And like I said, it's not official. It's not, it's just unofficial stats I've been keeping for the last probably 8 years at least, that I find with couples and dealing with affairs, that it's just as many women, if not more. So I think the stats are a little distorted, if you will. How can I prove it? Do I want to get into it and do the actual research and spend the time doing it? No, I am not that much of a research buff, whatever. I'm just going by, in the Metro Detroit area, what I deal with. So I can't speak, if you look at the stats, you have to look at, the regions of the country you're in, and there might be more, like Bible Belt regions might be more conservative in their stats, if you will, with affairs and everything else versus maybe large metropolitan cities, New York, Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., because we know all our politicians are screwing around, right? But, oops. No oops, probably the truth, right? But, get at some aspects that, what are some women cheat? How many think women cheat just as I think women keep it to themselves. I do too, but I'm going to tell you, Fu, I mentioned this, on a show. I had a client that was referred to me by a former client, and she was having an affair on her husband. Then she referred 3 of her friends, all women, all married, and all 4 of them were cheating on their husbands, and her husbands had no clue. And the guilt, the remorse wasn't there. It was, it was sad in a way. And I'm like, oh, damn. You look at those situations and you look at, what the hell is going on, and it's very difficult, You look at, what the situations are going on, what causes that, regardless, you look at the stats, how many are cheating, how many at all go on. But what are the reasons? What are the reasons that you think women cheat? And the big thing I hear, if the men cheat or treat them like crap, they look at the situation as revenge. How many women, and you know this, and this might be, do you think this is more of a maturity thing? And I mean maturity being age. You hear teenagers, you hear the situation, maybe younger women, getting revenge, right? If their boyfriend cheated on them, treated them like crap, maybe trash talked them, at a party, at a group, whatever. Now some of the women, I'm going to get even. And they have an affair out of revenge. They want that person. They want their boyfriend, their husband, whatever. If they had an affair or treat them like crap, they're looking at the situation where they want to get even and out of revenge. And you look at the situation, they want the guys to feel the pain that they felt. You know what? And I've dealt with, I've dated women over the years, whatever, that have done this and, out of revenge. But I don't think that is that a number one situation? And there's guys that done it. I had friends, clients, whatever, associates that I know that, they have cheated because, they got hurt, they got cheated on. So the husband, wanted revenge too. But a lot of women, I'm going to make him feel the pain I did. And I know women that, the revenge factor, what do you think that revenge factor is? They're going to go and try to sleep with or have sex with their, boyfriend, or maybe at that time ex-boyfriend, because they broke up, and then they go and screw a best friend, a brother, a cousin, of their exes or maybe their current boyfriends to get even. And revenge sucks and it hurts like a mofo, as everybody else. But I tell people in that situation, why in the heck would you sell yourself out, right? Why would you sell yourself out and, go out and have an affair? Would you end up doing that? What does that say about you? And are you going to sell out your values? And I tell people all the time, with the revenge aspect, some people I get even, but what's that say about you? Do you want to go ahead and look at the situation where you sell yourself out, you sell your values and maybe your morals out? And I've talked to women that have done this out of revenge. Yeah, you know what? I don't regret it at all, man. I got him back and all this stuff. And I'm like, what do you feel like about yourself that you were justified? And you try to justify it in your own mind, in your own eyes. It ain't about them. If someone cheated on you and you do it out of revenge to hurt them back, is that saying more about you, that you sold yourself out and that you do that? And I'm not, affairs happen. I told you I don't justify them, whatever, but I look at the situation to where what causes them, and, you go from the situation to where look at what happens. And if you're doing it out of revenge, you know what? Is that okay with you? And you want to hurt somebody because they hurt you. Is that childish? Is that immature? Or, Princess Fu, like you said in the chat, you could never do that for revenge. What's that say about maybe that person, that woman's character, right? But that is, one of the things that, maybe why women cheat. I would get divorced before I would have an affair. Fu, I agree. I have, listen to me, the professional. I have cheated on somebody before, and it was the worst thing I did. Here I am, a professional in what I do, and I knew why. I knew it was wrong. I knew, I thought we were done in the relationship. It was then miserable, not getting treated well at all. I wasn't, and I sold myself out, and it wasn't a revenge thing. It was like I felt unimportant. I thought we were done and dead in a relationship. I'm human too, and it was, something I'm definitely not proud of in that situation back then. And, it's like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Not practicing what I preach, right? But, that was the one time I did that, and I regret it to this day because I sold myself out. It's not about that other person. It's about, why are you doing that? Why are you in a situation that is going to, like Fu said, I would get a divorce before I would have an affair. And you look at the needs being met. But one reason why women cheat is out of revenge. Ooh. What else would be another situation that you look at why women cheat, right? And I talk about this, even in my book, Seize That Total Connection. I talk about a big thing on the one part. I talk about soulful, the soulful connection, obtaining soulfulness and the soulfulness of a relationship and trying to find ways to do it. And the number one thing I touched on, and it's sort of weird, and people are going to say, what the hell does this have to do? And I even mentioned this in the book, what does this have to do with soulfulness? And I mentioned about affairs. Have you contemplated an affair? Have you, pondered it? Have you thought about it? And you look at why. And people are like, why in the hell would you talk about affairs, Greg, underneath, the section on soulfulness? And it's towards the last quarter of the book. And my basis for that was trying to avoid affairs happening and look at breaking them down, why they happen. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of the soulfulness, the connection between the two. And it's very rare. It does happen because of physical, say the sex is bad, it's lame, it's unfulfilling, or maybe you just feel like your partner's just going through the motions or, going through pity sex, which is pathetic. And I talk about that all the time, that there ain't no way in hell do you, you fall into that you put up with pity sex, or maybe you need to look at yourself too and why you're doing it, because maybe you need to work on self-esteem aspects and What do I want to say? Yeah, look at self-esteem aspects. Why in the hell you're putting up with it? But going back to, the part of the book and the soulfulness about affairs, because I hit on those aspects about the soulfulness is missing, and that's where a lot of things, affairs happen. But underneath that, about the soulfulness, about getting each other, about being understood, that way you can hit on those aspects with hopes to prevent an affair. And I also talked on, even if an affair happens, ways to maneuver and try to rebuild the trust if you both want. But, the affair is that probably the number one thing I see with women having an affair, or why they cheat, is a lack of attention and a lack of intimacy. Meaning, the attention aspects and intimacy are talking about the soulful, connections, the one-on-one that you get her, she feels like you don't understand her, you're not sympathetic or empathetic to her needs, and you're not sharing deeply on an emotional level, so she feels non-existent, she doesn't feel important. And what happens, someone starts chirping in her ear. Again, like I said, I don't excuse it. I'm looking at why maybe the top reasons why women do cheat from my experience, and trying to look at that you can share this instead of having an affair, ladies. Listen to the show, or guys, you can go ahead and communicate, your needs and everything. And I get this, Greg, I talked to him left and right, and I talked to him, yeah, on and on about this, and my needs aren't met, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Then why are you, like Fu mentioned in the live chat, then why would you, you get divorced or get out of that relationship before you have an affair, in which I advocate and I promote. And then you have a lot of, people throwing out reasons or excuses, or, not excuses. They might be legitimate reasons. Everyone talks about, I have kids, that would destroy the kids if we broke up, divorce. Financially, I can't afford that. But, how would you like to be in a relationship where, the only reason why she's with me is because she can't afford to leave me? Ouch! Forget that, right? Forget about that situation. But one of probably the number one things or reasons why women have an affair, there's a lack of intimacy and a lack of attention. The guy would rather, could be a workaholic. I got to watch that myself, trying to make a living. But, lack of attention, lack of intimacy, lack of caring about making her feel important. If you run to a store and all of a sudden you get something, it could be going through the drive-thru or whatever, and you would, maybe you don't even think of her. You don't even think, oh, hon, do you need anything? Can I pick you up anything? You just sort of take it for granted, and you're sort of not even thinking about her. And this is part of the attention aspects that you are hitting on. And, you're not thinking of her, not thinking of her needs, or maybe thinking about, maybe whenever you guys do something together, it is about you and what you want to do, and you're not thinking about her, and all of a sudden she feels not important, taken for granted, and the attention aspect that her needs are not being met. Attention with maybe helping her around with the kids, with the house and all this stuff, and she feels like if I'm not being important and I'm acting or getting treated like I'm not around or not that important, then someone chirps in my ear, and guess what happens? Okay, it's a sad situation, but you look at that, and we'll touch on that right after this break about why maybe some other areas about the attention and intimacy aren't there, and why it sort of gets to become an addiction when someone else sort of pays them that attention. And we'll hit on that after the break. This is the Art of Relationships radio show. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.
If you're looking for that unique, cool fashion statement, check out Shoes by Shay on Facebook. She has hand-painted, hand-designed canvas shoes for you, your loved one. It's an inspirational piece unique to your own taste. Check out Shoes by Shay on Facebook. Again, that's Shoes by Shay on Facebook.
She's sitting on the dirt-ridden floor in her formal wear, and with one look, I swear she kills me. She's loud as hell, an embarrassment, one crazy bitch, but she's lovely, and she's addictive. My nicotine, the one from my dreams in the morning. She's vindictive. She makes me wish that girls like this came with warning. And we drive each other absolutely insane. But it would be a crime for us to stay away. So I say, come here. Can I have this dance? There won't be romance in this spiteful little connection. Will you take my hand and we can pretend that there will never ever be any problem? 'Cause when I look into her eyes I forget them. And when she spins into the light I regret them. Pretend that everything is fine, we'll correct them. Oh, can I have this dance? She's a total lush, but she's such a riot. She just can't keep quiet about me. She's in love with the drama, but this way I don't have to pay for reality TV. She sleeps around, but hey, who doesn't? It's just better for when we're together. She lies to herself when she says that we won't stay in love forever. And we drive each other absolutely insane. But it would be a crime for us to stay away. So I say, come here. Can I have this dance? Is there room for romance in this spiteful little connection? Will you take my hand and we can pretend that there will never ever be any problem? 'Cause when I look into her eyes I forget them. And when she spins into the light I regret them. Pretend that everything is fine, we'll correct them. Oh, can I have this dance? Whoa, you know, you got me going so. So I say, come here. Can I have this dance? Is there room for romance in this spiteful little connection? Will you take my hand and we can pretend? So I say, come here. Can I have this dance? Is there room for romance in this spiteful little connection? Will you take my hand and we can pretend that there will never ever be any problem? 'Cause when I look into her eyes I forget them. And when she spins into the light I regret them. Pretend that everything is fine, we'll correct them. Oh, can I have this dance?
Daddy, who your daddy? Your daddy. Come on, big girl. Tell me who your daddy.
Can you measure my pride by the look in my eyes? Can you feel my pain from the tears that I cried? A nuisance to another, but a good friend of mine. Well, come on, baby, let's be funky. I got the right shot. Come on. Who's your daddy? Talk to me, mama. I think I know just what you want, but I still don't know your daddy like me. Are you one of them kind with your lunch look on? Are you one of them kind closer to your peace of mind? Living on the other side
up the line. Well, come on, baby, well, let's be funky. I got the right time, come on. Who's your daddy? Talk to me, mama. I think I know just what you want, but I still don't know who your daddy might be.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Greg Dzinski, licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan, and also relationship and sex specialist, coming to you live from Podcast Detroit. Oh boy, Podcast Detroit studios in Detroit. Make sure you check out podcastdetroit.com. You can see all the lists of live shows and also listen to the recorded live shows as well in podcast format on SoundCloud, on TuneIn, and I know you can, oh boy, I think my show's all over the place as well, SoundCloud, on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Stitcher, it's all over the place. And I want to welcome everybody, all the new listeners and everything, to the Art of Relationships radio show. Typically, it is live every Sunday and Wednesday evening, 9 p.m. to 11, and that's Eastern time, same as the East Coast, New York City and everything as well, okay? So that is basically 9 p.m. Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central time. Oh, crap. Then there's what? Mountain is 2, that I forget. Anyways, check out your time frame. It's 9 o'clock Eastern time. I know 8 Central time. You can catch the show live, and you can also, listen to the show, recorded shows on Spreaker.com. Also, the show's own app, The Art of Relationships. And what else? All over the place. You can also check updates on Facebook under Greg Dzinski, DUDZINSKI. And you can give me a call live at 313-614-9498. And like I said, people joining the live chat and giving a call, I am not going to be rude. I'm not being rude, I should say, and I'm not going to announce your name unless you give me permission. I want to protect your identity and confidentiality. So when you call in live or enter the chat, I am not going to mention your name unless you give me permission to do so. Okay, I respect your confidentiality and your privacy the utmost, okay? And I know Fu was listening. Princess Fu mentioned earlier, she would, I would get a divorce before you have an affair, and it's very difficult. Like I mentioned, on all my shows, left and right, I want to say, it was all over the place when I mentioned about you do not want to, it's a difficult situation to get in, and you look at, reasons why. You might not, feel in love. You might not feel important. And we're talking about why women cheat and, not condoning it, not excusing it, whatever. And hitting on, we talked about, the revenge factor. And I'm laughing. It's not funny that women will go out and sell themselves out just to get even because their boyfriend or husband, whatever, cheated. And I'm going to get him back and I'm going to go bang his best friend. I'm going to go bang his brother, whatever. And that doesn't say much for your brother or best friend either. But, that's selling yourself out. And you don't want to, get in a situation where you're forgetting about, you're just doing something that you're going to regret down the road. And there's some women, like I said, over the years that I, either dated or been associated with clients that, they're so, I don't care. I hurt him. I wanted him to feel it. And, it gets down to them. Some women are not remorseful about that, but a lot of them are because they know, they felt like crap doing it because, they sold themselves out. And the other aspect, the most important thing I think why women cheat, and I mentioned this before the break, was a lack of attention and a lack of intimacy. And talking about, if she doesn't feel like her boyfriend or husband gets her, understands her. And I mentioned this, in my book, Sees That Total Connection, about, underneath the last part of the book, the last quarter of the book, underneath, finding or achieving soulfulness, I taught the number one thing I hit on was affairs. And it's sort of odd for me, trying to help people find the soulfulness in your relationship and trying to obtain that and coming in under, the premise that, how can you make each other your own soulmates? And you hit on, Greg, what the hell are you throwing affairs in there for? And I said, well, this is the reason. I don't want affairs to happen. I don't want an affair to happen to reignite the relationship. I don't want an affair to be the reason why the relationship reignites and gets closer and bonds and build, all that trust. I want it that way before an affair happens. That's why I mention affairs and getting on a situation to where I don't want that devastation and the hurt to be the reason the relationship also, now we're going to get help. Now we're going to fix it. Unfortunately, it happens a lot. Like I said, 85% of the couples I deal with, there's an affair. That's usually what brought them in to see me, is usually an affair situation. But, with a woman, every woman is different. When I talk about attention and, intimacy building, what does she want? Every woman is different. You might think, a woman wants flowers, chocolates, whatever, maybe love letters, whatever. Maybe she could care less. She doesn't give a shit about that, and she wants something else. You need to find out exactly what does she mean by the attention she desires, the intimacy aspects that she craves. What is it that she wants? Does she want deep-hearted sharing? Does she want affirmations? Does she want, compliments? All these are surrounded or maybe embrace paying her attention. If she's having a bad day, does she need a massage? I talk about in the book about paying attention to, facial expressions and body language. And, if they're having a bad day, can you go soothe them? How can you pay attention by soothing her, not only physical needs, of course, ooh, baby, but hitting on her emotional needs too. If she's had a bad day, if she's, just can you take care of that? Hon, can I get you anything? You want a blanket? You want to lay down? Just relax a little bit. And I want to mention there was a new listener, and I appreciate her joining, but I'm not going to say her name until she gives me permission to do so. That mentioned she interviewed, many women, and got a ton of feedback for my book. The biggest reason I received was needing to feel sexy and alive. A lover makes you feel on top of the world versus a husband that is wrapped up in his own world. And that is basically what I said about, the attention aspect. And, we're going to touch on a part of that too, is about the boredom too. How much of that is not paying attention to your lady? Or is it, she gets bored, or maybe it's a combination of both. And you hit on, first you have to hit the individual needs of your lady, guys. And women, you need to be specific and even write us a note. Guys, remember I said about hey, Shauna, thanks for giving me permission to mention your name. And you got to get your website up. I know I talked to you a little bit this evening on Facebook about your website. Link is down. And once that's up, please share it on my website. I want to give you some attention and props too, okay? And, it's under Shauna Marie. Okay, so if people go to our Facebook, Shauna Marie, don't stalk. Don't stalk her. Don't be crazy. Don't be sick. I don't even know, maybe not to be disrespectful. Maybe she's a lesbian. No, Sean, I'm sorry. One thing about me you don't know yet, I'm a huge smartass. But anyways, you hit on, the levels about, women having affairs, lack of attention, lack of, the intimacy details that, what do? You hear about this all the time that guys, they're not that emotionally deep, right? They don't share their feelings. They don't share whatever. And all of a sudden, guys share their feelings, and they're getting accused of being a wuss bag, a big wuss, big baby, whatever. And, women getting on, okay, I want a man. I want him strong. I want a provider. I want a protector, all this stuff. But I want him to cry. I want him to hit on these aspects. No, you're not a lesbian. You love men, too. I tell women, Shauna, I know you're new to the show, and I appreciate it. I tell women I'm a lesbian. 200% lesbian means what? Lesbians love women, right? So I'm a bona fide lesbian. Anyways, you need to hit on the aspects to where, what does your lady need to feel that you're paying attention to? And it could be, the flowers, the roses, or her favorite. Maybe she hates roses, and maybe she loves daisies. Maybe she loves dandelions. Who loves them, right? But you look at the situation. Maybe she likes irises, tulips, whatever her favorite is. Not just when you put thought into paying attention to her. What does she like? Does she have a favorite perfume? I almost said cologne. That's for a guy. But her favorite, cologne or perfume aspect, or does she have a favorite candy she likes? Just something to pay her attention. Like I said, if she doesn't like that stuff, then don't do it. Your intention might be great, right? To pay her attention, to make her feel important. But if you're giving her something that she could care less about, or it's not that important to her, your intention is going down the toilet, dudes. You need to pay attention to what she likes, not what you think she likes. I want you not only to assume or think, because maybe your ex-girlfriend liked this, or, your first ex-girlfriend or ex-wife years and years ago liked this. That doesn't mean the current girlfriend or wife is going to like the same thing. You need to get specific and hit on, what she needs to feel important, and what she needs to, to build the intimacy aspect, and exactly what she needs. And I think a lot of men get maybe what do I want to say? There's a lot of misperception about, sharing intimacy and all this stuff. And exactly what does that mean? And every woman, again, is different. It sounds like I'm repeating a show from not too long ago. And I apologize from people, listening to the show, following the show for a while. But I sound like a broken record because it's so important to look at, on the intimacy level. What does that mean? Does it mean about sharing your dreams, your desires, not only maybe for the relationship or marriage? What about your individual? By sharing yourself on an intimate level means your dreams, your goals. Not only that, but guys, you need to ask her, what about hers? It ain't all about you. Just like ladies, it's not all about you. There's enough ladies out there that, it's all about them. They always want to get rubbed or caressed, but they're not willing to do it back, or, whatever. They're not asking, about your day. They're not asking if you had a bad day, and they turn it all the way back on you. That's not what I'm talking about. Guys, you can be intimate by asking about them, their day. Oh, did you have a bad day? What was going on? Asking specific, questions, that paying attention to them, paying attention to their, like I said, if they look tired, or, oh man, you're in a great mood today. What's going on? What happened, man? That's cool. You're happy. You're in a great mood. So you need to hit on, pay attention to body language and facial expressions, guys, very much. And I know women, you are very good at this, a lot better than guys. But guys, you need to get trained and start, really paying attention, not only to facial expressions, but voice tones as well. And if she is, maybe she's angry and she acts bitchy and she acts, oh boy, out of sorts, if you will, okay? Bitchy probably says it all. Maybe her needs are not being met, and what do? You want to run and hide. Maybe ask her, what's going on? What are you upset? What did I do? What can I do maybe to help? And, oh, you don't get what I need. You don't get me. Well, she needs to be specific and tell you exactly what she needs to pay attention, okay? So, enough of that. And part of that is, when I meant about feeling attention, I sort of bracket all that into not only, paying attention and the intimacy sharing, but also about feeling underappreciated. I think that all goes hand in hand as far as, being taken for granted. Maybe you're not saying thank you enough. You know what? I really appreciate you, whatever, the way you take care of the kids, the house. Oh my God, you bust your ass, you work, you come home, you do this. Man, I wish I had your energy. Hit on the compliments, okay? And I mentioned this in the book too, and I mentioned this on, oh my God, almost too many radio shows. I think Princess Food tuned out because she got bored hearing this all stuff all the time. But you look at the situation and, what does it take to, what do you need to not take her for granted and, that she feels appreciated for not only the woman she is and not just sexually, whatever, which I'm all about that too. I'm a guy, yeah. But not only, sexually, but that she is a huge, huge part of your life and a part of your home and your household if you are married or living together. To me, it's no different, like I mentioned on, 1,000 shows already, that, what can it take for her to feel valued, to feel important? That's why I said I sort of blanket that and combine that in with, the intimacy sharing and also with the attention being paid, okay? And that's part of feeling underappreciated as well. Not only that, what can you hit on to, what does she need to feel appreciated on? Maybe you're saying thank you, whatever, and it's cool, but she wants to hear something else, okay? And feeling appreciated will also make her feel on an intimate level that you're paying attention and that you get her, okay? It's going to increase the intimacy she feels towards you, and it's going to be genuine. It's not, I'm not into bullshit, and I'm not into being fake or anything, as, people know. You hit on, what other aspects do you hit on as far as why women cheat? How many women do you think out there cheat because the sex is terrible? It's bad. How many do you think women actually cheat because the sex is terrible? And you're wondering, why in the hell would you be with someone when the sex is that bad, right? Oh, we have kids now. I don't know. We've been together for so long. It's all I know. And I'm all about being married and being married forever till death do us part. And, oh, son, the sex is just whacked. It's not good at all. The guy's all freaking bobbing his head all over the place, and there ain't nothing else going on. And he's freaking looks like a bobblehead. And he has no clue what he's doing sexually, whatever. And so many shows I did, I mentioned about women should never, ever, ever, ever fake an orgasm. Not at all. It serves you no good, and it's just bullshit in your guy, whatever. And you don't want to build up, I don't want to hurt his ego and all this stuff. I'm not about giving falsehoods, whatever. You need to teach him how to hit it right. Or maybe you need to, if he doesn't get it after teaching whatever, then oh boy, well, we stayed married, and then maybe she doesn't want to break that up at all, the marriage or anything. And I get that, and then all of a sudden she starts having an affair and for her own sexual needs. And what's going to happen, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen down the road is, sexually, all of a sudden it could be one thing, but it could be emotional, the emotional aspect too. And there's, everyone says, oh, women can't have sex or whatever unless there's an emotional connection. And most of us know that's a bunch of BS too, that women can do it just for the sexual gratification and physical pleasure, and break the boredom. So if the sex is bad, you need to maybe teach him, break him in a little bit the way you want. And if he doesn't get it, then should you stay in that relationship or not? Like I said, that decision is all about you and all about you trying to, I want people to be happy in all that situation, right? What else could mean about bad sex? We could get very specifically, I can't even talk. It sounds like all the errors I did in the first edition of the book a week or two ago before all my edits, typos and stuff in the book. What Shauna mentioned, all goes back to feeling like a sexy animal. Ooh, baby. Feeling free, lots of different positions, no more boring missionary BS plus, okay? Oh, no more boring missionary positions. You know what, Shauna? you're new to the show, and I mention it. It sort of cracks me up. I'm all about different positions and trying different things and shaking it up a little bit, big time. And I always bring this up. It's funny when you start dating somebody, and maybe this is when you're younger, just with the missionary position, you could do missionary frickin' 10, 20 times in a row, and you're never bored with that. Why? Why is that? Is it because you guys are so connected to each other? Is it because you're concentrating on each other and all this stuff that, missionary never gets boring? But it does down the road. So when missionary becomes boring, and I get it, I'm all about switching it up, frickin' countertop, table, frickin' up against the wall, and all ripping our clothes off and banging each other hard, animalistic, passionate, baby. But you look at that situation to where, is it the emotional connection that's going? Is it just the boring aspects, right? Ooh, these guys are great at making it feel like you're making love, even one night stands. Oh yeah, Shauna, absolutely. But the bad, going into bad sex, another one, maybe it's all about the guy, right? It's all about him. He's not worried about pleasing you. It's all about him getting his nuts off and not about pleasing you or how you feel, right? The wham bam aspects, or maybe I tell people left and right when I teach human sexuality that there's a lot of women that they're the ones complaining they don't get there's a lack of sex. They don't get enough, they don't get enough sex. So this all sort of goes hand in hand in the guys or geese, if you will, of bad sex. Maybe there's not enough of it. There's not, she's not getting physically pleased. Maybe there's not the eye-to-eye contact, the emotional connection of sex. Maybe it's just physical and it feels empty. So those are all aspects of, bad sex too. And I'm not talking, you can't, if you're doing it doggy style or reverse cowgirl, it's very difficult to stare at each other in the eyes without breaking your damn neck or whatever, right? I don't want anyone to frickin' get whiplash, whatever. Oh, I want to stare in his eyes like Greg said. But you don't want that. Just info from the ladies. Oh, I get that. A lot of women want that. Guys do too. We want frickin' women. You rip our clothes off. You frickin' throw us up against the wall. But like I said, this is about women right now and about why they cheat. And it could be the boring. They don't feel alive. They don't feel like they're ravaged anymore. Or my favorite term I like to say, they don't feel like their guy's not making them feel like they're sexually devoured anymore. Ooh, God, I love that term. So, the bad sex could be, it could be boring. The emotional connection's not there. That the guy, it's always about wham, bam. And I mentioned about foreplay on a show, a month ago or whatever, about foreplay. And, a friend of mine that does, basically the same thing I do with relationships and sex therapy, but out in Philly. And, we're talking about, there's a lot of complaints out there on the East Coast that women are complaining they don't get enough foreplay. And I'm like, oh my God, I promote it. Most of the guys I know are all fore-pleasing. They're lazy. They're lazy. They're ladies. They're all about pleasing their ladies and, foreplay and making them feel great and all this stuff. And believe me, I'm a guy and I'm all about that. So I'm all about, pleasing them. So, bad sex, what does bad sex mean? Is it lack of emotional connection? Do you feel like just a piece of ass or a piece of meat, ladies? And you want more. You need to tell your guy first, what you're missing, what you want. Tell him you want to rip his clothes off, or you want him to rip your clothes off and be, like Shauna mentioned, about the frickin' animalistic passion. I'm all about that. And, sometimes maybe your guy is timid. Maybe he's afraid. Maybe he wants that. And I've dealt with a ton of couples over the years where maybe he thinks she doesn't want that because she's more prim, more prissy, more proper. She doesn't verbalize, use dirty words, like come here and lick my ass or come here and, do me hard, whatever. Come here and spank my ass. She won't talk to me use dirty language. So therefore, that's her. She's prim, prissy, whatever. And all of a sudden, you watch her watching, 50 Shades of Lamehood, whatever, the movie. And, she's getting all hot and interested. And you see her and he's like, boy, she's not, why would she get all hot and bother and sort of, giggling about this? That ain't her. And all of a sudden, the guy doesn't try to rip her clothes off, doesn't freaking try to passionately take her or devour her, like I mentioned, like an animalistic aspect. Maybe you can shake it up and you need that all the time. Or not all the time, once in a while, to make her feel alive, to make her feel sexually alive, make her feel like she's craved, like she's really wanted in an animalistic fashion mixed with the emotional connection that goes hand in hand with that, okay? I'm all about that and, trying to make her feel passionate and all this stuff. Holy crap, where the heck are all the chat people tonight? They watching the Lions game? If they're watching the Lions game or getting the kids ready for school tomorrow. Hopefully the kids are all in bed. But this is the Art of Relationships radio show coming to you live from Podcast Detroit. So make sure you check out. They got a ton of great people, a ton of terrific shows. Check out podcastdetroit.com. You can see all the schedules for the shows and a wide variety of live shows coming to you live from the Motor City, Detroit. And what else is happening? We are going to take a little quick break, and we will be back shortly. Thanks for listening to our Relationships Radio Show coming to you live from Detroit City. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
If you're looking for that unique, cool fashion statement, check out Shoes by Shay on Facebook. She has hand-painted, hand-designed canvas shoes for you, your loved one. It's an inspirational piece unique to your own taste. Check out Shoes by Shay on Facebook. Again, that's Shoes by Shay on Facebook.
Waking up, kissing the floor of a bathroom stall. This isn't any way to live, no, not at all. And every one of these kids is so original. White suit, black tie with chucks, and I can barely pull off a standard tux. But why would I need to worry about it when I do it all again every night? As someone else, crashing parties, raising hell. Maybe I should get some help. Start to call myself the great pretender before they tell me, wait, remember when we used to stand for something more than this? I always think it's happy ever after till it's a complete disaster, till another name is falling from your lips. Oh, when did I become so cynical? When did you become so lyrical? If only the ice beneath my ribs would crack. Red smile, black eye, I'm stuck, I guess. I didn't know bad luck could wear a dress. I meant I hate you when I said wish you the best. But I'm a whore, I guess they mentioned that I'll trip down, break your attention, and you'll be stuck here in suspension. I start to call myself the great pretender before they tell me, wait, remember when you used to stand for something more than this? I always think it's happy ever after till it's a complete disaster, till another name is falling from your lips. So give me a sign now that this is alright now. It's all black and white now, but I just want it right now. So give me a sign now that I'm still alive now. I start to call myself the great pretender before they tell me, why you remember when you used to stand for something more than this? I always think it's happy ever after till it's a complete disaster, till another name is falling from your lips. I start to call myself the great pretender before they tell me, why you remember when you used to stand for something more than this? I always think it's happy ever after.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Greg Dzinski, and this is the Art of Relationships radio show. Make sure songs you just heard, Well Wisher by Rev Right Time, and before that, The Great Pretender by Skyway Traffic. I know both lead singers. Well, Eric is the whole thing. He plays everything, guitar. Make sure to check him out on Reverb Nation and on Facebook and YouTube, too. Again, Rev Right Time and Skyway Traffic. A ton of talent from the Metro Detroit area. Both Skyway Traffic and Rev Right Time, like I mentioned, Pat Ferris, Rev Right Time. They used to tour back in the mid-'90s with the Stone Temple Pilots, believe it or not, throughout the nation, and a world of talent. And I want to thank everybody, all the new listeners from joining me on the Art of Relationships radio show. You can join me on the live chat if you go to Spreaker.com and type in, do a search for the Art of Relationships, or you can do, I think, search for my name as well, Greg Dzinski, Dudzinski, and you can also join me on the live chat on the show's own app for Android and Apple devices as well. You can also give me a call live, 313-614-9498. And as I mention, as I do with every show, it does not matter what the topic or the subject matter of the evening is. You can give me a call with your questions, anything I can help you, try to help you sort out in your life and make you happier in your relationship and actually with yourself as well. And like I mentioned, it's important the show is for you. The Art of Relationships radio show, it's for you out there, listeners, to hopefully help enhance your lives on emotional, physical, and social levels big time, okay? So we are talking about why women cheat. And we touched on a bunch of stuff about attention, about intimacy levels, about feeling underappreciated. And we just talked about, before the last break, we talked about bad sex and talking about, what encompasses bad sex. Is it the emotional connection, the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, but I could care less about you getting off. It's all about me. We talk about, maybe there's not enough sex. Maybe he's not making her feel desired. Maybe he's not making her, my favorite word when I talk about devouring her. And some women out there, I call them, since I'm never politically correct, that they're prudish or whatever, prissy, prudish, whatever, and they talk about, devour, that's just disgusting. Yeah, that's why we like it, like Shauna mentioned about the animalistic, passion. And then I talk about, do you want the animalistic, passionate, emotional connection all rolled into one, throw me up against a wall, make me frickin' howl like a dog, and treat me like the slut that I am, right? So you want to hit on all those aspects, in a relationship. You want to shake it up. You want to, you could have just, we're on the chat earlier about, you can have missionary, which is, it's fine that you have the soul-to-soul connection where you are able to stare at each other in the eyes. And I even touch about, in my book, how many people, how often women do you crave to be kissed? And we talked about, Princess Fu, we mentioned we're on Facebook a little bit ago before the show and talking about that there is a lack of, maybe part of this would fall in with the attention, that the touching aspect. And I mentioned this on numerous shows, holding hands, the cuddling, and not, all women want that. And there's, like I said, there's some guys that want that and don't get it either. They're women's like, that ain't me, that's whatever. But, the deep, passionate kissing. How often do you kiss? Do you even have, talking about bad sex, is there any emotional, deep, tongue-lash, kissing, nibbling on the lips aspects during sex even? What about outside of sex? And do you feel that's part of making the woman feel craved and feeling wanted, desired, making her feel like a sexual being and not just on a friendship level that you're just going through the motions and, that she's there, that you desire her, and not just for sex, but on the emotional levels, that how many people are able to Say the deep, passionate kissing went out the window a while ago, and what would it take to reignite that? And maybe she would like that and make her feel more sexually desired, more sexually craved, wanted, and as a woman, not just as your wife, not just as the mother of your kids, if you have kids in that situation, but that you kiss her like she's a frickin' woman, a frickin' animalistic sexual being. You just want to frickin' make her panties wet with the passionate, deep, longing kisses. Ooh, baby. So can you look at, you look at those realms, and what would it take for you to do that and integrate kissing? I almost got, when I get off on task like I always do, the deep, passionate kissing outside the bedroom. How many people can actually kiss or even tried it? And I get people squirming, freaking laughing, giggling like little school kids when I say, how many people can you kiss passionately and still look at each other in the eyes? Ooh. How many people do that? Oh, Greg, I poked myself in the eye with their eyelashes, whatever. Oh, my God, that's weird. It's crazy. It's awkward. Is it? Or do you have a deep, even soulful connection? How many people actually tried kissing deep, passionately, and stared at each other while they're kissing, right? And we all know, we talk about, you do it during sex, which is phenomenal. I promote it. Even oral sex, that you can stare at each other. And I'm all about that too, that you're able to stare. Oh, don't look at me. I'm so embarrassed. And that's where part of you need to grow up and maybe mature a little bit on the sexual realm. Maybe these are all things, ladies, that you want to try or maybe work through those fears. And I'm plugging my book all over the place. In the book, Seize That Connection, I talk about these very things to where, what would it take to get rid of your fears and all this stuff? And maybe the guys, we talk about bad sex and devouring you that, want to rip your clothes off and just freaking nibble and suck on your neck a little bit to make you wet, to make you off freaking like a woman, a freaking sexual being that, maybe he's afraid that he can't, maybe he wants to do that, but now maybe he's afraid you don't want that because you're a mother now, because you got more, religious. You got more prissy, more prudy, more worried about what people think. Maybe you have a CEO position, management position, and now you have to maintain this image. And now he backs off all that because he feels maybe not only intimidated, maybe he feels you're not that woman anymore. He needs to make you feel like a woman, no matter if you're in an executive position, a management position. Maybe women just want to feel safe and let go, and they don't want that control anymore. Well, there's some women that do, but maybe, guys, you need to make her that sexual being again and turn, what her definition of bad sex is and to flip that around, okay? That is, this is the bad sex aspect with affairs. To be honest with you, and clients I've worked with over the years, that tends to be a very, very minimal reason why women cheat, okay? It does happen, and I know for guys, bad sex, it happens for them too more than it would for women, but it's important to note and trying to shake it up a little bit, okay? Now, low self-esteem. How many women, and I get this, talk about, why both women and men cheat, and I've done too many shows on affairs as it is already, but this aspect, you need to look at what's it take to, is that self-esteem aspect, say you're giving her attention, you're giving her the affection she needs, you're making her feel loved, appreciated, that sexual being and it's not enough for her, and it's low self-esteem. She don't like this. She has body image aspects. And all of a sudden, what happens? She gets plastic surgery, right? And I know someone that spent frickin' $15,000 on a soon-to-be ex-wife, plastic surgery, and getting divorced and all the attention that they draw. And that self-esteem, you need to look at, what you're doing, ladies, and why. Now you got all this attention. You don't know how to deal or handle it. Now what do, right? You go out and you're sort of getting your ego fed. Now this is a very, very difficult situation to deal with when, women, they go out and cheat because of self-esteem aspects, okay? Maybe their husband or boyfriend's making them feel loved, appreciated, desired, all these things, and she just needs her ego boost because maybe she was not that not that popular in high school or college or, whatever. And all of a sudden, the old, black swan situation, the ugly duckling situation turned into the, the beautiful swan aspect. And all of a sudden she don't know how to handle all that attention. And all of a sudden, she just feeds into it, boosting her ego. And all these guys are paying her attention now. And what do you do? And I, when I mention about the plastic surgery aspects, I always tell people I am not paying for anybody to have plastic surgery because I say I'm not going to pay for something that someone else, some other guy might be playing with down the road. So, oh boy, is that bold of me? I don't know, but that's my philosophy. I ain't paying for something that someone else is going to be playing with down the road or maybe down the road, okay? Yeah, I wonder if you sign a disclosure, if we break up or get divorced, whatever, those fake tits need to come out or you need to pay me back for them. But I have no money. Well, okay, then we just rip them out, Or here, let me stick a needle in them and drain them. That's just wrong. Okay, what other aspects do women cheat? What other aspects, or why do women cheat? Give me a call, 313-614-9498 if you ever cheated, ladies out there, and I'd love to hear from you. And like I said, your name will be anonymous, and I'm not being rude. If you give me a call live, I will not ask you for your name. I want to protect your privacy and make sure you're anonymous. If you mention your name, like I said, that's on you. But I will not ask, and I'm not being rude. I'm just actually being respectful of your privacy. Or you can join us on the live chat here on the Art of Relationships radio show, coming to you live from Podcast Detroit. Make sure you check out all the shows, lists of shows, times, schedules. Again, that's podcastdetroit.com. Make sure you check out my website at theartofrelationships.org, and you can hit me up on Facebook as well, and I usually post all the shows and some other stuff, another avenue to help people out there, okay? So we want to look at, different ways women might, why do they cheat, right? Is it bored? Is it a way to shake up the relationship? And both men and women, might cheat out of boredom. I never excuse them. I never, condone affairs, whatever, but, is boredom, is that a legitimate reason? If you're bored, what are you doing? Are you always looking for, ladies, your boyfriend, your husband, to initiate, to shake up the relationship? What are you doing to do this? Are you always awesome? Maybe you tolerated it for years where the guy, your boyfriend, husband, whatever, always makes the decisions, which I'm not, me make all decisions. Women like that, right? All of a sudden you're okay with it. And then all of a sudden your tolerance for it goes down the toilet years later, or maybe not even years later, months later. And all of a sudden what happens is you need to go, I'm bored. It's all about him, whatever. And you're not voicing your opinion. Then you go out and have an affair because you're bored and you're not doing anything about it. I'm all about you. You need to verbalize your needs big time when the boredom, okay? Now, how many women, I want to hit on this real quick too. How many women have an affair because they want to get out of the relationship? How many use sex to get out of a relationship? It's their way to, I hate my marriage, I hate my relationship, and I've been emotionally dead. The relationship's been emotionally dead to me for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and all of a sudden, I just had an affair, and it gives my, that's why I did it, just to end the relationship, to, I couldn't do it anymore, so I had an affair just to end it up, and I wanted him to find out because, I'm done, and that's my reason. It's my reason to say I am done, no more working on it, I'm out of here, okay? Shauna, you mentioned sex addiction is very taboo, but it's another reason why women seek out. Absolutely, Shauna, I agree, and sex addiction is both men and women in a situation. It could be, porn, whatever. And there are women out there that are sex addicts, and a lot of them, it could be pleasure seeking, but a lot of it, it's not, just a pleasure seeking. I think it's more with women with sex addiction. I think it's more about thrill seeking. And, it also could be, if you want to say, attention whores, men too, right? But it's more with women, I find, with sex addictions versus men. Yeah, men too. It's like thrill seeking. It's like they can't be content. They need to always have a thrill. They need to always have that excitement. I guess it wouldn't be really that much different from men in my experience, okay? And, that's a huge thing too. And that's sort of a rare thing, but that is a reason. If there's a sex addiction, and I know I actually have a couple men in that situation. Actually, a few women I've had probably this year, not a lot, maybe about 4 women, that had a sex addiction problem. So not a lot. And I think that is, it's out there, but it's rare, but it's also a great topic to hit on tonight about why women cheat. Also, she was a virgin when she met her husband, wants variety, wants to know what else is out there. Shauna, oh, yes. You know what? That could be out of boredom. And also, a lot, they get married, years ago, 18, 19, even now, early 20s. All of a sudden, they get sort of wondering what it's about. They get more comfortable with their sexuality. All of a sudden, they want to explore, and that could be part of boredom and just wanting to know what the thrill about other people. And I know you're just listening for the first time this evening, and I appreciate that. And I mention on a lot of shows, I mention on Facebook when I teach human sexuality at a local college here in Metro Detroit, that I never, ever promote waiting until you get married. I never promote abstinence before you get married for that very reason, that you're able to explore sexually. You're able to look, not only find yourself and be more, there's a difference between, being sexually active, with one partner, whatever, but you explore a variety and you get more of a essence, more comfortable with your own self and what you want. And you mentioned, Shauna, you mentioned this, very much about when she was a virgin, wants to, a variety, knows what she's missed or what, what is out there. That's the same for men too. I had a relative that got married really young, and I think he was living out his high school years, or again, and that actually years ago, and that's sort of what brought me into this field, was one of a huge reason of what transpired through that aspect. And you need to look at what the heck is going on. Is it a variety? Is it a thing? But can you shake it up? Can you shake it up a little bit even and try different things? Or is it more you want that experience? And does that fall into why women cheat because it's out of boredom, whatever? Oh, God. I have a friend that's a preacher's daughter, never slept with another man, has slept with several past year while she was married. You know what, Shauna, I hear of that. Wasn't that in Footloose, too, the old movie way back when? Preacher's daughter's always slut of the town, right? Woohoo! So why is that a bad thing? Not at all, right? Why shouldn't women enjoy their sexuality? And, they can't, but women can't, but men can. Screw that. It's all about, what pleases you. As long as you're not hurting anybody else or hurting yourself, I'm all for it. And you look at a situation, that happens a lot, Sean. And like I mentioned earlier, you look at, there's so many reasons, and everybody puts a reason why women cheat. And I'm going over a lot of popular ones, but there's so many reasons. There's not a right or wrong, a black and white. I shouldn't say right or wrong, but a black and white, it's not that concrete. It could be ego. It could be self-esteem. It could be, boredom in the marriage. It could be not feeling like that sexual maven, or it could be about, maybe lack of experience, meaning the experience of other people, of other multiple partners throughout a lifetime, before you settle down and you look at, women need to be more vocal and more verbal and not come across as nagging, the old scenario of nagging bitch or, just a nagging person, if you will. And what would it take? I want women to speak. And I hear this all the time where women have a hard time speaking about, especially, with sex aspects or whatever. Some women are very confident and very vocal and verbalize, and I love those women about what they want, what they need sexually, and they can freaking verbalize, dirty talk and all this stuff and talk about anything, sexually, and not only sexually, but, intimately, and what they're missing on the intimate level or emotional. Some women have a hard time because, let's face it, their guys might not listen, right? They might not pay attention. There's a difference between hearing what they say and actually listening. So women, it's no use. It ain't going to matter anyways. Have you tried? No. And there's some guys, I've never heard this before. She never brought this up before. The women, you need to vocalize specifically what you need. If you're not getting it sexually, if you're not getting the attention, if you're not getting the emotional intimacy that you need, or maybe the variety of life that you're bored in a relationship, what are you doing to shake it up? Or are you just leaving it to your husband? All of a sudden, well, he didn't shake it up. He was boring. He didn't do this. Did you talk to him? Well, no, he should have just known. I'm like, oh my God, really? You need to verbalize, ladies. And if you are at a point in your marriage or relationship where you're going to cheat, like I said, I'd rather have you get out of that situation. However, you need to suck it up and be able to talk to him and say, hey, you know what? I'm not happy. This is what I need. Now, if you're just growing apart, sadly, is that one reason that women feel disconnected, because you're growing apart too, why women cheat? Because maybe intellectually, women, they might, women and men, they grow and mature at the same rate. And that's what you want. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And I get one that, is a current client now, sadly, that, they were going through a divorce, and I saw him, when it was going on. So I've never seen them as a couple. That, Greg, it's like she never, the maturity and the selfishness, she never matured. She was selfish and never, looked at what it was like to, be a wife or be, married, whatever. And she was almost like selfish in that realm and always about her. And I told him, did you ever tell her this? Did I ever, did you verbalize? Did you try to teach her and, communicate this to her? And, he said I would try, but, maybe it wasn't in the way she needed. Ladies, you need to communicate your needs before you go having an affair. Guys, I mentioned this before, and you need to verbalize what your needs are, what you're not getting, and speak from the heart, okay? Speak from a teaching aspect, not from a naggy, complaining, battle axe mode, if you will, to your guy, or he's going to shut down, okay? And then, like, I try to talk to him, and I try to teach him, and I also, center on this aspect, and he won't listen, he won't this. Maybe it's your approach, and I'm not bashing you. I'm here to teach you how to do that, okay? Now, looking at the elements, look at this aspect. You need to teach. Guys, you're listening to the show. I want you to learn and try to meet your lady's needs and look at, if she's ever having an affair. Oh, boy, yeah. Social networking, reconnecting, keyboard cowboys. Easy to talk sexually online. Then when it turns into, are we going to actually meet up in person and just fuck? I hear this all the time from women after the fact, after they've screwed up. You know what? Yeah, I hear this a lot. And that, Shauna, I'll have to have you, we'll have to pick a day and time that works out good for you to call into the show and have you on and give you props and stuff for all your the research you're doing and everything on your end too. That'd be very, very cool. And get your work and promote that. I'm all about helping other people out there, as I give many thanks for people supporting me. I am going to actually say good night this evening. I cut out a half hour early a little bit. I want to thank everybody who has been listening to the show live. And I also want to thank Shauna for joining, listening in, and sharing the Art of Relationships radio show on her website. Again, Shauna Marie, you can look her up on Facebook and maybe check out a little bit of her research and work that she is doing and trying to help people out there like I am too, okay? So this is the Art of Relationships radio show. You check me live, or listen live, I should say, every Sunday and Wednesday evening, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, coming from podcastdetroit.com studios here in Detroit City. Everybody have a nice Sunday evening. Everybody get up early Monday morning. Oh, boy, right? I start teaching a new term tomorrow, too, so I'm going to be whipped. Anyways, much love to everybody out there. Thanks for all the support. Take care, and I will talk to everybody soon. The Art of Relationships radio show is copyrighted. No one is to use any part of the show without express written consent from myself, Greg Dazinski, or the Art of Relationships. Thank you.